Okay, 9.2 test review. Okay, so the first page is practicing solving radicals. Number 1, so again, remember you have to get your square root alone, or your cube root, whatever it is, your radical alone before you can do anything. So here's my radical. It is not alone, so I have to get it all by itself on the left side. So I need to move this x. So I have minus x, and this goes away. So now I have the square root of x plus 1 equals 5 minus x. And that's not in order, but it's not a huge deal right now. So now my radical is all alone, so I can go ahead and square both sides. Well, this side is all in a square root, and this side is not. It's 2 terms, so it's going to be different. So the square root just cancels the squared, and nothing has to be really multiplied here. So I just am left with x plus 1. However, on this side, squared means I have to write it twice. So I have 5 minus x, 5 minus x, 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times negative x is negative 5x. Negative x times 5 is negative 5x. Negative x times negative x is positive x squared. So I'm going to flip it and combine my like terms. So x squared, negative 10x, because that's what those are combined, and then positive 25, because remember, 2 negatives makes a positive. So this is what we have now. Well, because I have a squared, y'all, I'm going to have to factor. So I need this to equal 0. So I'm going to do minus x, line up my like terms, and minus 1, because I need the side without x squared to equal 0. So I have 0 equals x squared minus 11x plus 24. So I know that A, B, C, A is 1, B is negative 11, C is 24, A times C is 24, B is negative 11. So what multiplies to give me 24 and adds to give me 11? It's going to be negative 8 and negative 3. And remember, you can always check in the calculator. So negative 8 times negative 3 multiplies to give me positive 24. Negative 8 plus negative 3 adds to give me negative 11, so that is correct. So now I rewrite this as x minus 8 and x minus 3. And I'm going to go ahead and just set them both equal to 0 and solve. So plus 8, and I get x equals 8 plus 3, x equals 3. Now, I'm not done. I have to check my work. So I'm going to plug it into the original. So I had x, which is 8, plus the square root of x, which is 8, plus 1, and it should equal 5, and it did not. So 8 is not my answer. So let's try 3. 3 plus the square root, 3 plus 1, and this should equal 5, and it did, so that is my answer. So x equals 3 is my only solution. Okay, number 2, well, my square root is already alone. Okay, so since my square root is already alone, I know that that I can just go ahead and square both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and square both sides. So squared, squared, square root cancels the squared, and I get x equals 81. Well, I can check my work. Square root of 81 is 9, so there's my answer. That worked. So we like that one. So then we have this one. So I have the cube root of x plus 4. Well, I have to get the cube root by itself. So I have that plus 4 on the same side. So I'm going to do minus 4, minus 4. I have the cube root of x equals negative 4. Well, now my cube root is alone. So how do I get rid of a cube root? I have to cube both sides. Cube root cancels the cube, and I get x equals, well, when you type negatives in the calculator, remember, always use parentheses. And I get negative 64. So we can check our work. Remember, the way you type a cube root is math 4. So math 4, 64 no, sorry, negative 64 plus 4, and this should equal 0, and it did, so we did it correctly. Okay, so our next one, we have x plus 7, square root of x plus 7 plus 5 equals x. Well, again, I have to get my square root alone. So I need to get the minus 5 to the other side. Well, now I have the square root of x plus 7 equals x minus 5. Now that my square root's alone, I can go ahead and square both sides. So my square root on my left side cancels my squared, and I'm left with just x plus 7. Now on this side, I have to multiply my x minus 5. It's not the same as 5 minus x, so don't use that. So I'm going to come over here, x minus 5, and I have x squared minus 5x plus 25. So if you notice, it actually is the same, but you never know. So I have x squared minus 10x plus 25. So again, I have a squared. I have to make it equal 0 first. So minus x minus 7 minus 7, and I get 0 equals x squared minus 11x, and then 25 minus 7 is 18. I don't know why, but I feel like I need to double check that. Look at me. Okay. And now I'm going to factor. So a, b, c. A is 1, b is negative 11, c is 18. A times c is 18, b is negative 11. So what multiplies to give you 18 and adds to give you negative 11 is going to be 9 and 2. And again, double check your work. Negative 9 times negative 2 is 18. Negative 9 plus negative 2 is negative 11, so we did it correctly. So remember, we have x minus 9, x minus 2, and we set them both equal to 0 and solve. So plus 9, x equals 9, plus 2, x equals 2. And we're not done. We have to check our work. So we plug it into the original, so square root of 9 plus 7, and then plus 5, and that should equal x. Well, x is 9, so does this equal 9? Yes. Therefore, this works. Square root of 2 plus 7 plus 5. That did not equal x, which is 2, so that is not a solution. So x equals 9. Okay, so looking at number 5, okay, and just remember those solutions that don't work are extraneous. Okay, so here's my radical. Okay, and I have to get it alone. So I have a cube root of 12x plus 4 with a plus 3 equals 1. So I have to get rid of this plus 3. So minus 3, and I have the cube root of 12x plus 4 equals negative 2. And now that my cube root is alone, I can cube both sides. So cube root cancels the cube, and I'm left with 12x plus 4 equals, and then remember, it's not times 3, it's negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. So it's actually negative 8. Okay, and now nothing squared this time, so I'm just solving for x. So minus 4, 12x equals negative 12, divide by 12, and I get x equals negative 1. Now, I'm not done. I have to check it. So math 4, remember, 12 times negative 1 plus 4. come out from under the house and do plus 3, and this should equal 1, and it did, so that is my solution. Okay, now number 6, we have the square root of 3x plus 12 minus the square root of 5x minus 12 equals 0. A lot of people on this one wanted to go ahead and just square it, but you can't. You have to get a radical alone first. Okay, if you try to just go ahead and square it, you're giving yourself way more work than you have to. So we're going to get rid of the negative radical by doing plus. What I do to one side, I have to do the other. This zeroes out, and I get the square root of 3x plus 12 equals the square root of 5x minus 12. Well, now I have a single square root alone, and this one's also alone, so when I square both sides, the square root cancels the squared on both sides. So I'm left with 3x plus 12 equals 5x minus 12. There's no more radical, and there's no squared. So the nice thing is I'm not factoring. I just need to solve. So I always like to move my smallest x when I have x on both sides. So minus 3x minus 3x. That gives me 12 equals 2x minus 12. So now I need to get everything away from my x, so plus 12 plus 12. Oop. That gives me 24 equals 2x, divide by 2, and I get x equals 12. So we can check our work. So I have the square root of 3 times 12 plus 12 minus the square root of 5 times 12 minus 12, and it should equal 0, and it did, so that is my solution. Okay, so here's another one. We have a radical that's not alone, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of what's being added and subtracted. Now the 3 is being multiplied because there's no symbol in between. Okay, so we're going to do minus 4, get 3 root x equals 15, divide by 3, I get the square root of x equals 5. So now my square root's alone, and I can square both sides. So square root cancels the square, and I get x equals 25. Well, there's nothing else to solve, so there's my answer. So we can check our work. 4 plus 3 square root of 25, and this should equal 19, and it did. Okay, well number 8 is perfect. It's already set up for us. We have a cube root equals another cube root with nothing extra. So we're just going to cube both sides. Cube root cancels the cube root cancels the cube. And I'm left with 5x plus 3 equals 4x minus 2. So now I need to solve for x. So I always like to move my smallest x, which is 4x minus 4x minus 4x. I get x plus 3 equals negative 2. Minus 3, x equals negative 5. We check our work. So cube root is math 4. My calculator died. Oh, there it goes. Maybe not. Okay, so math 4. 5 times negative 5 plus 3 gives me this decimal, so the other side should give me the same thing. Math 4. 4 times negative 5 minus 2. And they do, so that is my solution. Okay, so let's look at the next page. Okay, so just a reminder of your baseball diamond. We'll draw like a little piece of it. So you have this. I know mine is so beautiful. Look how perfect that is. Okay, so if it's 0.0 or a whole number, it's here. Okay, and that's I, same as I to the 4th power, or just 1. Okay, I to the 1st power, because this is like first base, is I. I to the 2nd power, because this is like second base. This is negative 1. This is also 0.5, 0.25. This is terrible. But you get me, okay? 0.75. And I to the 3rd power equals negative I. So there's our options with my beautiful baseball diamond. I know, I did such a good job. So just remember, you have 4 options. Whoa, give me a second. I'm going to go turn my lights back on. Okay, so remember we take our exponent and we divide by 4 because we have 4 options. So we take our exponent because we really don't want to go around this 4 times, I mean 198 times. So we do 198 divided by 4, and that gives me that. So I did 198 divided by 4, and it gave me 49.5, which is the same as 0.50. So that's here. So my answer is just -1. Okay, so here we're going to do 396 divided by 4. And I get 99, which is a whole number. So it's just 1, because that's the same thing as 0.0 or a whole number. So it equals 1. Sorry, not 0.1. Same as 0.0. Goodness gracious. So then we have 459 divided by 4. And that gives me 114.75. And that's third base, which is -I. And then lastly, we do 85 divided by 4. And we get 21.25. 0.25 is quarter, 1 first base, which is just I. So that is how you do these. Also, make sure on your test that your I and your 1 are very, very different. If I can't tell the difference, I'm just going to mark it wrong. So don't try to make it look like both, because it'll just be wrong. Squared means the exact same thing twice. So if I have squared, I want you to realize that means 4 minus 3i times 4 minus 3i. And I'm going to double distribute. So 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times -3i is -12i. -3i times 4 is -12i. And -3i times -3i is positive 9i squared. Now, we know that these are like terms. So we get 16 minus 12 minus, -12 minus 12. Y'all, if y'all struggle with that, those do not cancel. 2 negatives don't cancel. -12 minus 12 is -24. Okay? The I stays. You can't type I in the calculator. Plus 9 times I squared is -1. We know that. We know that. I squared is -1. Okay? Well, 9 times -1, positive 9 times -1 is -9. So 16 minus 9 are now like terms. And 16 minus 9 is 7. So we get 7 minus 24i. So 14 is very similar. 5 minus 6i times 5 minus 6i. And we double distribute, so 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times -6i. I don't know why I had to hesitate that. -30i. -30i. 2 negatives makes a positive 36i squared. Like terms, we get 25 minus 60i plus 36 times -1. And then honestly, y'all, at this point, you can type your like terms in the calculator. We know that neither of these have an I, so they're like terms. 25 plus 36 times -1. And you get -11. So -11 minus 60i, which is the same thing as if you realize this is -36. 25 minus 36, same concept. So you could do it either way. But you see, my eyes look very different than my ones. That's why I loop my eye. I do not normally loop my eyes whenever I write. So this is just when I math. Okay, these are a little different than ones we've done. We've done stuff similar to this, but not exact. I want you to realize that we know let me write this in a different color. We know that I equals the square root of -1. Okay, so if you look here, I have the square root of -1, so that's just I. There's nothing but a positive in front of this parentheses, so I can drop the parentheses, plus 9 plus 4i. And this one has a negative, so I have to do -5 and minus -2i. Well, minus a negative, two negatives makes it positive. And now I can combine like terms. So my numbers without I first, so 9 minus 5 is 4, and then this is the same as 1i, so 1 plus 4 is 5, 6, 7, so plus 7i. Okay, so the exact same concept on number 16. So we know that the square root of -1 is I. We know that I had a minus in front. There's nothing in front of this parentheses, so we can just drop it, 6 plus 7i. And there's just a plus sign here, so again, we don't need that parentheses either. Combine your like terms. 6 plus 3 is 9. 7, we could put a 1, so minus 1 minus 6, well, if you struggle with that, 7 minus 1 minus 6 is 0, so it's just 9. Okay, look at number 7. Here we're distributing. We have parentheses and we have something touching that parentheses. We have -5i touching, so -5i times 5. Well, -5 times 5 is -25, and just one I being multiplied, so we have I. And then -5i times 4i, well, -5 times 4 is -20, and then I times I is I squared. Well, we're not done because I squared equals -1. So -25i minus 20 times -1. Well, two negatives makes a positive, so this becomes plus 20. And remember, your number without I should go first. Proper is your number without I, and then your number with I. So it was written, what we had in our notes was A plus BI is your proper format. I will take off a point if it's not in the proper format. 1 point, but still, if you do it a bunch, that's a bunch of points. 4i times 2 is 8i. 4i times -8i, well, 4 times -8 is -32. Yes? And then I times I is I squared. So again, 8i minus 32 times -1. Well, -32 times -1 is positive 32, so this becomes plus 32. And this is a positive 8i, so 32 plus 8i, because we have to put it in proper format. Now this one's a little different. We have something being multiplied in front, and we also have a squared. Now think of PEMDAS. Why I wrote the E first, I do not know. Parentheses, well, 2 minus, well, I cannot combine. Exponent, so we have to get rid of the exponent before we multiply. So we need to do 2 minus I before we worry about the 3i. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times -I is -2i. -I times 2, -2i. -I times -I, well, 2 negatives makes a positive. I times I is I squared. Well, 4 minus 4i plus I squared is -1. 4 minus 1 is 3 minus 4i. So that's what that equals. So I have that 3i still there, and then I have 3 minus 4i. So this was me just simplifying that. 3i times 3 is 9i. 3i times -4i, well, 3 times -4 is -12. I times I is I squared. So 9i minus 12 times -1, that becomes positive 12. So 12 plus 9i. Last one. So this one's double distributing, kind of like 15 and 16, except they're not the same. So 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times negative 6i, well, positive times negative is negative. 2 times 6 is 12. And this doesn't have an I, but this did, so 1i. 3i times 4 is positive 12i. And then 3i times negative 6i, well, positive times negative is negative. 3 times 6 is 18, and they both had an I, so I squared. Well, negative 12 plus 12, that's a 0 pair. If I give you 12 and I take away 12, that's 0. So I get 8 minus 18 times negative 1, which you can type in your calculator. There's no unknowns there. There's no letters. There's no I. I typed it just the way I have it written down, which is 36. Now, however, 2 negatives makes a positive, so it's the same thing as saying 8 plus 18, which gives you... Oh, I typed 18. I was like, oh my gosh, they should give you the same thing. Goodness gracious. This should be 8 minus 18 times negative 1. So it's 26. Sorry about that, y'all. So it's 26. Y'all aren't here to catch my mistakes. All right, y'all, good luck. Study. Make sure you finish your review and show all your work. Y'all are going to do great.